Your child's education may be in serious jeopardy.
We had no clue that our son had a teacher that was not certified.
There were nearly 400,000 uncertified teachers.
You can't come from working in the gap to working in school and expect them to be successful.
When you step into that classroom without any training,
AP Physics, AP Calculus, the students have a lot more knowledge on that subject.
we are on the brink of collapse. Parents, you need to listen closely to what we are discussing tonight. Why? Because your child's education may be in serious jeopardy. Think about this. The person who cuts your hair, the plumber who unclogs your toilet, even the nail tech giving you a manicure, all have gone through hands-on training, obtained a license or certification, required to enter the workforce. But when it comes to school teachers, those hired to inspire and educate our children, many states have literally lowered the standards and requirements once needed to enter the classroom. That's right, schools across the country are hiring uncertified teachers. That's right, no certification and no experience needed. In many cases, all that's required is any bachelor's degree and a background check. And it's not just a few of these uncertified educators being hired. Last year, there were nearly, wait for it, 400,000 uncertified teachers employed in districts across the country. The result? Research shows months of lost learning for students each year, as well as a serious impact on their future. You choose the behavior, you choose the consequences. And let me be clear, the majority of uncertified teachers are well-intended. They want to do a great job, but they're being placed in a very tough position. And many principals and superintendents will argue, what are we supposed to do? Leave the classroom empty during a historic teacher shortage? We're trying our best. But that best has come at a serious cost, and our children have become the collateral damage. Well, joining us is Amber Shields, a former principal and nonprofit education leader who works with Texas school districts to keep pre-K to third grade students academically performing at grade level, which is critically important. We'll talk about that in a minute. Part of Amber's role is visiting school campuses, being in the classroom, and speaking with district leaders about how to better serve students academically. Amber, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Well, Amber, look, I've said this loud and long, and I'm going to say it louder and longer. We are in a right now education crisis. And as an educator yourself, you say hiring uncertified teachers is outrageous. This seems insane to me. How do you feel about it?
It is very upsetting as a parent and as an educator as well. And we know that the decision to hire uncertified teachers is often the lesser of two evils that district leadership and as well as administrators have to make. But many uncertified teachers are not equipped to meet the needs of our students, and there are dire consequences as a result of them having uncertified teachers.
Now, I'm not trying to throw these people under the bus. It's not their fault. I mean, they're doing the best they can with what they know. But the fact of the matter is, this isn't babysitting. It isn't just an adult being in the room to keep order. Teaching is a science. There's a science to reading. There's a science to really building on one level of knowledge to the next level of knowledge. There's a science to imparting information so these kids understand what's happening. And if you don't have that training, you don't have the training to create a curriculum, build a lesson plan, execute that lesson plan, recognize when someone has a learning problem or whatever. What in the world are these people doing that don't have this training?
They're honestly taking it day by day. In some of the classrooms that I've visited where I've been able to see uncertified teachers in action, they are being supported by their peers, but ultimately they are not operating or functioning at the same level as their certified co-teachers. And this is a problem for teachers because those teachers are struggling and many of them are not maintaining their time in the classroom because it's really difficult to be in the classroom without that proper certification and training.
Well, do they have any experience other than when they were students? Is there any apprenticeship? Is there any, what? I know that's a broad question because it's probably different from state to state and even district to district, but I mean, can somebody be, maybe have a degree, but selling cars or clothes at the Gap or doing nothing?
We see definitely a variety of backgrounds. Many of them, like you said, their experience in schools was their own experience as a student. So it definitely creates gaps in terms of how to implement the curriculum, how to support students who have learning challenges, how to navigate working with families. You can't come from working in the Gap to working in school and expect them to be successful.
Well, certainly not. And are they paid the same as a certified teacher?
That does vary across states and across different districts because of the teacher shortage. Some of them are being paid at the same rate as their certified counterparts, but it largely varies.
Well, how does that work motivation-wise? If somebody's gone through all of this training and gotten, they had to do student teaching, get their degree, go through student teaching, get certified, and then here comes somebody that just shows up and get paid the same or a similar amount of money. How does that work on motivating those teachers?
Well, Dr. Phil, I would imagine it's some heated discussions around the coffee pot in the teacher's lounge if they get to comparing salaries. I think that there is definitely some anger that might be shared by those teachers that are certified, and then they're being asked to support their uncertified counterparts. So that definitely is an issue that we see.
I can well imagine. Now, let's look at the actual impact, because this isn't just philosophical. There is definitely learning loss. From grade 4 through 8, if you have uncertified teachers in the classroom, in terms of reading, there's 4 months lost from 4 to 8th grade. The math, there's 3 months that are lost. From 5th to 8th grade in science, there's a 5 to 6 month loss. If you look at high school, in English, they're dropping 6.1 months. In math, 3.8 months. High school science, 1.9 months. So there is a definite gap created when you have an uncertified teacher in there. And this is on top of what was already lost during COVID. And we weren't doing great before COVID, but then COVID exacerbated the situation. Now we have uncertified teachers in there, and it's just, we're falling further and further behind.
Yes, and can you imagine the experience of a student who has 3 consecutive years of an uncertified teacher and how that learning loss compounds in addition to what you mentioned, the learning loss that was sustained during the pandemic. This is deeply troubling. Some districts are not even notifying families that their child has an uncertified teacher. So even the thought of them having it for consecutive years is very, very much alarming.
One of the things that concerns me about this is what you just said. Do parents not know that their student may have an uncertified teacher in the classroom?
I don't think that parents that are, well, let me start here. There is policy in certain states that do require districts to notify parents if their child is being taught by an uncertified teacher. However, how widespread this problem is and the data that you shared in the opening, I don't know that all parents have access to that information or are plugged into education in that way where they know that this is a very real possibility.
Wow. But they are able to check and find out, right?
Yes, most states do have verification search engines where they're able to type in their child's teacher's name and see if they hold a valid certificate in their state.
Well, every parent or grandparent that's watching this right now, you need to do that. You need to check and see if you have a certified teacher teaching your children. So no credentials, no experience, no problem. Next, a young woman who says all she needed was a bachelor's degree and a clean record. So you can't be a felon, but that's a pretty low bar. She says it's fair for parents to be concerned about uncertified teachers. We're going to add her to the conversation with Amber and myself right after the break. The IRS is the largest collection agency, with April 15th fast approaching. It's more aggressive than ever. If you owe back taxes or have unfiled returns, waiting's not an option. The smart move is to get ahead of this. Listen, never contact the IRS alone. Let the experts at Tax Network USA handle it for you. Tax Network USA has a preferred direct line to the IRS. Now, whether you owe $10,000 or $10 million, Tax Network USA's attorneys and negotiators have already resolved over $1 billion in tax debt. Talk with one of their strategists today. It's free. Call 1-800-958-1000 or visit tnusa.com/Dr. Phil. That's tnusa.com/Dr. Phil. April 15th is just around the corner. Act now. Life is full of surprises, and emergencies often strike when we least expect them. But preparation is key, and that's where Jace Case comes in. With Jace Case, you'll have essential emergency prescription medications right at your fingertips, ready when you need them most. Whether it's an unexpected illness or a travel mishap, having the right meds on hand can turn a potential crisis into just a minor inconvenience. Don't let the unexpected catch you off guard. Jace Case gives you peace of mind so you can tackle life surprises with confidence. Be ready. Take charge today. Head over to jace.com, that's JASE.com, and when you check out, use the code PHIL, spelled PHIL, to get a discount on your order and to have the right meds on hand the moment you need them.
I will constantly advocate for people becoming a substitute teacher. If you literally have no clue what the heck you want to do, you don't even want to be a teacher. Be a substitute teacher, do it for a little bit, and figure it out later. Honestly, you get to pick your own schedule, your times, everything. It's lovely.
Well, that was 23-year-old Jacinia, who says she was hired as a long-term substitute without even a formal interview, credentials, or experience. And she says all she needed was a 4-year degree that she had just earned, a degree that had absolutely nothing to do with education. Jacinia, thank you for being here and talking about this, because I really want to know what it's like for you when you step into that classroom without any training in creating a lesson plan or a curriculum, or recognizing if a student is dyslexic or anything of the sort. This must be a real steep hill for you to climb.
It definitely has been challenging. In the beginning, I started pretty fresh out of college, 2 months after I graduated. And it definitely, the confidence of being in front of a classroom came through experience. And when I first started, it was extremely challenging because I didn't even know how to log into the computer. And so I do get the keys and the password and the class roster. And sometimes you're greeted with a lovely lesson plan from the teacher, and sometimes you're not. And so when the case comes, when you're not greeted with that lesson plan, you kind of go through your, bag and book of tricks that you can implement in these classrooms. And I always kind of go with the 1% better. How can I make these students 1% better with what I have to offer? And so whether that's kind of doing their homework or, working on the project that they were doing the day before, the day is always different and the student's always different versus the grades.
Right. Now, Amber, Jacinia has been offered, she doesn't take them, but she's been offered 30-day stints as a substitute, where she has been offered to take an entire month to substitute and teach these children. What do you make of that, Amber?
I think it's a tough choice that campus administrators have to make. Do you want a body in the classroom? Do you want the same body in the classroom for 30 days? Do you want it to cycle through being different educators or different substitute teachers? during that 30-day period. And so it's a tough decision to make. And as a principal, I had to make that decision myself. And oftentimes I opted to have a consistent person who would be able to build a relationship. And then myself or my administration team would have to work to support that uncertified substitute teacher while they were in the classroom.
Well, let's take a look at what classes Jasenia has taught, because, boy, you've been agile. Jasenia, you've been all over the place. She's taught first and second grade math, sixth grade math, eighth grade AVID, ninth grade math and English, 11th grade math and English, 12th grade history and science, and high school band and art. So you're like a Renaissance woman. I mean, you've taught just about everything at every level. And you said, in all honesty, a kid that's passionate about a subject can probably teach the class better than you can.
In some subjects, in some circumstances, they can definitely teach the class a little bit better, especially in the pre-college level courses, AP Physics, AP Calculus, and whatnot. They have a lot more knowledge on that subject right now with the training that I've been given.
Let me be very, very clear here, Jasenia. I'm not being critical of you at all. If you weren't there might not be anybody there. So, and that's what you're up against, right, Amber? It's like, thank God that she's there, a young, bright, young woman who's a willing spirit. What do you do if you don't have Jasenia?
If you don't have Jasenia at the elementary level, we begin to split classes. So maybe the average class size in a first or second grade math class is 22 students. That teacher that's absent, we're going to divide those kids up across their other grade level teachers. And so then that increases the class size of those other classes. In a secondary situation where it's middle school or high school, you might have a teacher who's off during that planning period, rotate through that class and teach it as an extra prep. But that's not good for those other teachers and creating a sustainable career for them and making sure that the students are learning.
Now, Jasenia, you say some schools don't even care who you are or what you're doing. They give you no support. Other schools really do, and some, you say, just kind of leave you hanging.
That is true. And I think that's a good thing and bad thing about substitute teaching is you can go to so many different schools and pick the class and teacher and subject. And what I personally have found best fits me is I like going to the schools and continuous classes that I personally feel that I can best support and best support me. So the schools that do guide me and give me a little bit more support, I love coming back to because I feel the most supported, as well as the subject that I'm there to teach. I feel as though when I do come repetitively, not only am I a young teacher that the kids can kind of relate to, but I'm also able to just kind of make connections where if I'm repeatedly going to different classes in different schools, I wouldn't have made then.
And again, I want you to understand, Amber's not being, nobody here is being critical of you. You're doing the best you can with what you have. So please understand that. Because I'm going to add a mother who says she was stunned to learn one of her son's sixth grade teachers was uncertified and has been teaching her son, not for days, not for weeks, but for months. And now she's demanding answers. I want us to have this completely transparent conversation about this because people are watching that need to understand what's really, really happening. So we'll get back to that right after this break. Did you know that high blood pressure is the #1 risk factor for mortality? 1 in 2 adults has it. That's a 50-50 chance you are a walking time bomb. But here's the good news. You can take control of your blood pressure naturally without relying on Big Pharma. 120 Life combines delicious super fruit juices proven to help lower blood pressure. Backed by hundreds of doctors and trusted by thousands with real results, it's a solution you can rely on. The best part? It's risk-free. Try it for 2 weeks. If your numbers don't improve, you get your money back. Lower blood pressure or your money back. Nothing to lose, everything to gain. Go to 120life.com. That's 120life.com and use code PHIL, P-H-I-L, to save 15% and get free shipping. This is serious. This is your life we're talking about. 120 Life can help. $36 trillion. That is the U.S. debt, and it gets deeper and deeper by the day. Our debt has never been higher, nor have the stakes. The government is looking to slash the federal budget by $2 trillion, and no one knows what that will mean for your job, savings, and future. I've seen a lot in my time, and there's one thing I know for sure. You need to prepare before it's too late. I trust Preserve Gold to help protect my wealth, and I strongly urge you to do the same. They are the only precious metals firm I trust and recommend to my family, friends, and audience, and they have a special offer just for you. Text Dr. Phil to 50505 to get your free precious metals guide from Preserve Gold. With gold prices recently breaking records and analysts predicting this trend to continue throughout 2025, you cannot afford to wait. As a bonus, you can get up to $15,000 with a qualified purchase from Preserve Gold. So don't wait. Text Dr. Phil to 50505 today. I really do think that teachers are way undervalued in our society. I really do. I think you're not paid enough. I think
Not
you're
hardly. You couldn't have any profession without first a teacher. Well, teaching, it starts at home first, but then you go to school and your teachers train you, and the children spend more of their waking hours away from home. So it's like my classroom is my home.
Oh, preach on, sister.
And
I hear
you come in here and
Yeah.
I treat you just like you're a child of mine.
What we value most in life are our children, and we turn them over to teachers 40% of our waking hours. That's where they go to have their minds shaped, and
Yes.
that's where they learn to go to the next level in life and be able to read and communicate
Yes.
and get consequential knowledge so they can take care of themselves in the world. How do you feel when one of them masters something and overcomes something that they weren't able to do before?
Oh, it's like the light comes on. It's like, you got it. I don't care when you got it, as long as you get it.
Yeah.
That's what's important.
I'm back with Amber and Jasenia, and we're going to add Aurora here in just a minute. But I had a couple of things I wanted to cover first. Now, Jasenia, you have a degree, and what's your degree in?
My degree is from University of Hawaii at Manoa in communicology.
Okay. And what did you plan to do? What's your career goal long term?
Originally, I wanted to become a school counselor.
Uh-huh. Do you think that's something you'll do eventually?
Eventually, yes. I think I would love to see myself as a school counselor. I think being in the classroom has definitely changed it a little bit for the better and for the best way.
But you never, under any theory, planned to teach all these subjects and be in the classroom grinding out through these subjects every day.
No, that was not the plan.
Yeah, and Amber, it takes a special kind of person to do that, right? I mean, people that teach don't do it to get rich. We know that. I don't know a teacher that doesn't get in their own pocket to get resources for their classroom. Seriously, I always shudder when I talk to teachers that someday they're going to divide the number of hours by the pay they get and figure out what they're making per hour, and they'll all quit because they work so many hours for so little pay. It takes somebody that just really wants to be an educator to really do it and be passionate about it. Is that a fair statement?
I think so, Dr. Phil. It is definitely hard work.
It is, and you have to have a passion for it. You got to have a passion where, I always say there are different kinds of currency. There's monetary currency, social currency, spiritual currency, emotional currency, and a really passionate teacher has to get currency. They have to be paid off by shaping young people's minds. They have to really get something out of watching young people blossom and grow and learn and become more self-sufficient. It takes a certain kind of person that cares about that sort of thing. Why do you think, Amber, people are leaving this profession and not entering this profession?
I think it's important to people, especially coming out of college, that they're able to make and earn a living wage. In education, we don't see the same bonus systems and the same incentives that we sometimes see in corporate America, where there are more opportunities to get merit raises year over year. There's opportunity for bonuses. And while some school districts and systems have switched to a pay for performance system, over the time of your career in education, unless you go into administration, in some places there, you're going to make relatively the same amount of money during the tenure of your career. And for a lot of people wanting to come into education, that's disheartening because they want to be able to be a homeowner. They want to be able to take vacations. They want to be able to do all of those things. And if education isn't allowing them to be able to do that, then it does give people pause when considering it as a profession.
Well, I've done some research into that, and Jacinia, you can comment on this as well, but we've been looking at it, and on average, teachers earn about 20% less. It's actually, I think the number's like 19, than similarly skilled and educated professionals that aren't in the educational field. The average teacher earns about $60,000, an employee in the private sector, $71,500. And so that adds up. Across 20 years, it's a $250,000 difference, which is significant. We got to start paying teachers if we expect to attract people to this profession, do we not?
Agreed. And Dr. Phil, to your point about dividing it across the hours, a lot of times in the private sector, hey, if I clock out at 5 o'clock and I'm heading home, I'm not opening up my laptop. Teachers are sometimes have these unspoken expectations that they'll continue to do lesson plans and they'll continue to do other things in the evenings, whether it's attending PTA meetings or facilitating and supporting student events. And so that not having that structured, clear cutoff time of their day does make it really difficult for some people to find the financial benefit compared to those private sector roles.
Well, you said if you're going to make any real money, you've got to get into administration. Between 2000 and 2019, the number of district administrators in the United States public schools has grown 87.6%, and the number of teachers has grown 8.7%. So it seems to me we've got a problem educating our students, but we're adding administrators at a massive rate compared to the number of teachers. We're at 8.7% teacher growth in a 19-year period and 87% administrators. That's a 10-to-1 ratio. How does that work?
If I had to make an assumption, I would also consider just the topic that we're talking about. When we talk about how the workforce has evolved and the experience level of the teachers has caused some districts to create more administrative roles to support and develop these uncertified or novice teachers who are certified and they have like 0 to 5 years of experience. Because the workforce is changing, there's a different need in terms of administration and the type of support that this workforce needs.
Yeah, that's a 10-to-1 ratio. I don't know how that works. We're going to take a break. And when we come back, I want to add Aurora and see how she feels about discovering her child is being taught by an uncertified teacher after the break.
This is something serious. These are our vulnerable, most precious thing in life that we have is our children. These teachers are spending 8 hours a day, 5 days a week with our children. And we don't know who they are. We don't even know they have passed a background check at this point. I don't trust that they even know their middle name. This is outrageous. This is unbelievable. These children, we need to protect them and we need to get them ready for the next level. One day, these children are going to become attorneys, doctors, chefs, builders, whatever they might be. And we're going to be counting on their education. This is out of line, and it needs to stop.
Well, that was Aurora, who says she was shocked when in November she received an email from her son's principal that his 6th grade science teacher is not certified and had been instructing him for months. Aurora says she had no clue that schools were even allowed to hire a teacher that had no certification, and says there's just nothing she can do because her son is required to take the class and the district is not going to fire the teacher. And Aurora, you say you were stunned to learn that uncertified teachers were allowed to be hired. Talk to me about that. What did you think when you got that email?
Yes, Dr. Phil, I was in shock, and I couldn't believe it because it had been several months, and we had no clue that our son had a teacher teaching him all those months that was not certified.
Uh-huh. And how's he doing in science, or do you have any way of knowing?
I wouldn't know if he's doing what he's supposed to be doing, if he's at peer level with the rest of the classmates on other schools or different grades. I have no clue. I do not know.
Right. And you put a premium on education. That's important to you.
It is very important. I'm a mother of 9 children. Our older ones are graduated from college, very successful. And education is very important. We educate our children at home and we send them to school. They're supposed to get the education from school to get ready for the next level and for their future. We want them to be successful, and we don't know the certified teachers that are certified. The ones that are certified are teaching our kids where they're supposed to, but there are so many that are not certified, that are not qualified, and there are many that have gotten certification that are not even real, that are fake.
And you said that the uncertified teacher had spelling errors in her homework assignment.
We have had that happen as well. We have to bring it up to them, and some work levels where they have been taught certain things, and the teaching method is not how we as parents would teach it. You would think that teachers will have a better method of teaching, so we have to correct those things.
How has the school responded to your inquiries? Did they defend it? Did they justify it? Did they apologize for it? What was their attitude?
You will never get an apology from things like that happening. I received the email. We contacted the principal and asked why it took so long to notify us parents, because after 30 consecutive days, they're supposed to notify us, and it's been more than 90 days. The response was, when I asked who's responsible for this, the principal said the district is responsible. When I reached out to the district said that the principal is responsible. So we don't know at this point who's responsible. We did get into it more with the district, and at the end, they sent us a letter, an email letting us know that from now on, they are going to put in the system something that allows them to know right at 30 days of consecutive days, a teacher or a substitute teacher teaching a subject that they're not certified on, they will notify parents right away. That's a system that should have been in place from the beginning.
Well, but that doesn't solve the problem, though. That just tells you that it's happening. I want to hear what Amber has to say about that, because the solution is hard. And we're going to look at just how some states have dropped the bar for becoming a teacher. I'll show you what I mean when we come back. Every day, children enter classrooms across the country looking to their teachers to help educate and guide them during the most critical and formative years of their life. But now the education and future of these children may be in jeopardy due to many states lowering the standards required to become a teacher. Amber, if you got the call from Aurora, what would you tell her?
Unfortunately, I would probably share similar sentiments as what was shared with her by the administrator at the campus. However, I would have informed her that our state policy does allow us to hire uncertified teachers. While this is not our desired employee, but in order to have a teacher in the classroom, this is the decision we made for this school year. And then, of course, apologizing that she wasn't notified in the proper fashion.
But the point is, you're not able to tell her we're going to fix the problem because there just aren't teachers available.
There are not. And the state policies have allowed for this to be the situation that we're in because of the teacher shortage. And to address that, the policy has been lifted in so many states or lessened the requirements so that we can get teachers in the classroom, and that includes those who are not certified.
Well, Aurora, let me tell you what's happening here as we go across. In California, for example, they've lowered the requirement to a bachelor's degree or higher in any subject is all that's needed. Just any subject. Doesn't have to be in science. They can be teaching science. They don't have a teaching certificate, just a bachelor's degree. No need to demonstrate competency in reading, writing, or math. They don't have to be competent in it at all. Then in Texas, you can file for a certification exemption. You don't have to demonstrate anything. You can just file for an exemption and you can go into the classroom. Then you come across to Missouri, for example. They've decreased college credit needed. You used to have 60. They've lowered it now to 36. You can have a high school diploma equivalent. You can have a GED and earn a sub-license with 20 hours of training. So you can have somebody that's got a GED preparing your child to go to college in Missouri. Then in Florida, veterans can apply without earning a bachelor's degree. They just need some college, and I think they have to be at least enrolled in college. And then we come over here to North Carolina. They want to eliminate standard testing requirements altogether, so they're going to lower that standard. Then we come over to New Jersey, not required to pass a test designed to show basic reading, writing, and math skills. So the teacher doesn't even have to demonstrate that they have basic skills in reading, writing, and arithmetic. It's headed in the wrong direction, Mom. This is not a good situation, which is why I say we are on the brink of collapse in this situation. And I'm not sure if I was a principal, I don't know what I would do. There aren't teachers available, and I don't think they're going to become available if we don't start paying them. Next, I want to talk about when it comes to a child not being able to read, there's more at stake than a grade. This is a serious long-term impact, and I'll show you what I mean when we come back. Well, we're back, and I'm saying that this is a right now crisis because learning loss is a big deal. Literacy is a big deal. And we're headed in the wrong direction. I want to talk about the effects of poor literacy because that's the most fundamental thing. I've often said, and I'm not the first person to observe this, but the first, second, and third grade, you learn to read. And from fourth grade on, you read to learn. So the first three grades, you're getting the tool, and then from there on, you use the tool. And we look at the effects of poor literacy. You start kindergarten below grade level, that's the largest portion of school dropouts. 8,000 drop out each day, partly due to reading difficulties. And you have a less than 2% chance of attending a four-year university if you've got poor literacy. And you're 2 times more likely to be unemployed. You earn 30 to 42% less than literate coworkers, and children are at an increased risk of developing anxiety disorders. Adults are 3 times as likely to have dementia. There's a higher risk of illness. So this has far-reaching implications if we don't have just even the fundamentals of education. And we're not doing well as a country. You know, we say we're number 1, but we're 34th in math internationally. We're 9th in reading. We're 16th in science. Amber, we just have to pay more money. Is that not what we're going to have to do to attract people to this profession?
I think that's one solution, Dr. Phil, is definitely compensating teachers fairly. But I think there's also other programs, such as grow your own programs that school districts can consider so that teachers see that they're coming into a supportive environment as a new teacher. We're also seeing teachers exit the profession faster than they have in past generations. And that's as a result of the lack of support that they feel like they'll experience within the profession. So there are other supports that can be provided to ensure that we pay them and they also feel supported and they remain in the profession.
Well, I want you to talk about that some more because it is more than money. I've had teachers say they don't feel safe. They don't feel like they can go to work and know that they're going to be protected. And I want to discuss this some more with our final thoughts after the break. Well, I've been talking to a former principal, a substitute teacher, not certified, but a substitute teacher, and a parent, all who agree we have a broken education system where children are the ones paying the price. Aurora, what do? Do you have a plan? How do you plan to mediate this situation?
Continue to check and make sure that our children have certified teachers. And if they don't, then we're going to have to step it up and try to teach them ourselves whatever we can to keep them up to date on what they need to know and learn for the next step.
Well, parents have to be involved. Amber, you said there's more to it than just the money. That's part of it. And I talked about teachers that don't feel safe in the workplace. They have to feel supported, right?
Dr. Phil, I think that while it's important what needs to happen in schools and systems, the map that you showed us early really illustrates that this is something our policymakers also have to revisit. In order for there to be more stringent certification requirements, we need to revisit some of the policies that have been established in this country that lessen those requirements to begin with. At a district and system level, we also need to ensure that teachers are being provided support when they enter the profession so that they're able to sustain. And things that can do that are instructional coaches, grow your own pipelines, or having mentorship programs within the school districts will help teachers to then feel supported, and hopefully they'll stick around.
Well, hope so. Jacini, are you going to continue to substitute?
I personally think I will. I think being young and with the short-term jobs that I get, I think allowing the students and trying to help them, educate them in college, trying to show what the world has to offer, even if it is telling them how to tell a clock time, I think I will continue to sub because I think being someone who in my own heart feels that I make a difference, I think I will continue subbing my short-term substitute teaching jobs and continue to make that 1% difference in the school system and in the students that I teach.
All right, fair enough. We reached out to Aurora Sun's School District for a statement. As of tonight's taping, we have not received a response. We'll have even more information about tonight's show on drphil.com, and you're going to hear me talking about this a lot. Thank the three of you for letting us hear your thoughts and views on this. I think it's going to resonate a lot with people that are in this situation. After the conclusion of tonight's taping, we received the following statement from the Texas Education Agency. A classroom teacher is the single most important in-school factor impacting student success, and recent data from our annual report shows that more than half of new hires are uncertified. Supporting aspiring teachers and giving them access to high-quality preparation and coaching so that they can succeed is critical to addressing the staffing challenges facing our school systems. Last month, Governor Abbott made raising teacher pay an emergency item to ensure Texas continues to attract, retain, and support dedicated educators across Texas. In his State of the State address, the governor also called to give teachers the authority to remove disruptive students from their classrooms. Additionally, Texas continues to support school systems through the work of the governor's Teacher Vacancy Task Force and continued investments in Grow Your Own teacher residency programs and the Texas Strategic Staffing Initiative. TEA looks forward to continued legislative support and collaborating with school systems to address these challenges.